All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another round of Coffee and Questions. And what's today's topic? I want to talk about the wall mount, TV stands, that you can buy from Harbor Freight. And are they any good? And we'll do some questions and answers. I'm going to change the picture here. Let me show you the wall mount, and then we'll get right after it. Here we go. Okay, so this is the Armstrong 37-inch to 80-inch full motion TV wall mount. Let me show you the ratings real quick, and I'll show you a coupon that's currently on sale that drops the price. Let me switch over to the ratings real fast. Okay, so here's a current one. If you want to take advantage and pick up the flyer, you can get it for $35. I've seen them down a little bit lower than that, but $35 is a good price for this. It is a good mount, and we'll go over the reasons why here in a sec, but I wanted to show you this now. Let me show you what they've done in terms of the ratings. Okay, so I put the ratings right here. It's 4.9. It's got a couple little quirky things that are easy to work around, but otherwise it's 100%. There's no 3, 2, 1, nothing like that in terms of, anybody that's, enormously dissatisfied with it. Most people are very happy with it. So let's jump over and let me show you a couple other pictures, and we'll do some questions and answers on this. Here's a picture I'll leave up here for just a few moments. You can see that it's mounted. If you have a receptacle close by, that's a nice touch. But if you don't, the cord's probably going to show. But for the mount itself, you can see how it mounts. You can see that articulating arm. And it can go up, down, it can go right, left, and then you can also retract it, all the way up to the wall. So it's nice in those terms. You can adjust this thing however you want once you have it mounted the way that you want. But let's go ahead over to questions and answers, and let me see if I can answer some of the more common questions for you. Here we go. What about other models, other costs? Well, this is good for the price. You can easily spend, $125, $150 or more on some of these name brand wall mounts that you see out at some of the bigger box stores. So I would tell you this is equally as comparable. It's a damn good one. It is well made. It's made out of good sturdy steel. And, for the price, I don't think that you can beat it. Now, the one guy out at the club, he mounted a 65-inch TV to his. I was a little bit worried about the weight. Now, he had to do some tightening on the adjustments. We'll get to that in a minute. But, outside of that, he said it's holding up the TV fine. I was worried a little bit about, the weight of it. But, he said it wasn't a concern on his. The instructions that come with it. No, the instructions are real poor. I would do a YouTube search or do a Google search on, the actual installation. I don't think it's that hard to figure out, but the instructions aren't very good at all. So I agree, with the comments when it comes to the instructions. But it comes fully assembled, and they give you a package of lots of nuts and bolts and stuff in there to be able to mount this in a lot of different ways. So there's not like a lot of assembly required, in and of the bracket itself. And like I said, you get lots of fasteners. And what did I think in terms of the movement? It moves slowly, smoothly rather. And, I would move it slowly depending on how big the TV is, of course. But I found that it moved, in terms of movement, it's got smooth movement to it. And yes, it tilts up and down, right to left, and like I said, retracts against the wall. Okay, so I read lots of small questions in here concerning the actual mounting of it. Now, first of all, you can use that back plate, and you can make a cardboard or a paper template with all of the holes marked in it. And then you can hold that up to the wall, and then that will give you that paper template, to start out with, to mark your holes and so forth. Now, the other thing that I would use, and I did use, is I used a small torpedo level. So when you go to put this bracket up there and you start to use the lag bolts, to lag it into the wall, I tap and play around with it and make sure that you've got this bracket nice and level, because you don't want it to come out cockeyed. Then you got to take it all apart, and then you got to re-level it. So I would take your time. I made the template. It's the way that I did it. Now, the other obstacle you can run into that somebody wrote, and I agree with a couple of the comments. Now, if you cannot put this 16 inches on center and with the lag bolts go into the stud, then what you might want to do is you might want to make a decorative wood plate. Like you can go to Home Depot, Lowe's, you can get some pine board, and you can make like your own backing and then put that up first where it's 16 inches on center, and then put the bracket, onto that piece of, that wood mount that you made. And then you can go from there to mount the TV. So I understand, yes, you can run into situations where you can't be 16 inches on center because it doesn't look right, or it's just not going to work right in that room. But that's one workaround, to make, your own mounting board first. So it's just a thought. Now for me, I have I've got tools out in the shop. I can make it nice, smooth. I can stain it. I can do a whole bunch of things. I can router an edge on it, and you can make it look real decorative. You can make it almost the same dimension and height as the metal bracket itself, put it on the wall and then put the bracket on there, and it won't show that much except for around the edges, which you could also paint black also. So lots of little variations and design opportunities, we'll call it. To do something ahead of time to make it fit in the area that you want it to fit in. So I hope that answers your question. Somebody wrote they're still not real sure if just because people say the metal is sturdy and strong enough, is it? Open it up out in the store yourself. Just tell them you want to just open it. They can always put a piece of clear tape back over it, slide it out, take a look at it. I do this with a lot of things at Harbor Freight. I actually, handle them and examine them real well before I worry about purchasing them. But you can do the same thing. Now, the one thing that I will tell you in there, I did not always use the same hardware that came with it. Now, the lag bolts that go into the bracket, it'll go into, the drywall, stucco, or whatever, and you're going to go into those studs. It's about 3.5 inch long lag bolts. They're pretty long. So I got some that were a little shorter, I think at 3 inches, and I use those. But I'm going from the bracket through drywall and into the stud, because if you consider, studs are 2x4 and you got this bracket up there, those 3.5s go pretty darn deep. So you can get away, with shorter lag bolts. They cost next to nothing. Why do they include so much hardware? Well, because they don't know how you're going to mount it, and the hardware is cheap. So they did give you lots of hardware. And when you get done with this, you're going to have a small pile of, hardware left over. Just put it in a junk drawer or put it in a junk box. But I'm glad that they did. They actually thought it through and gave you plenty of fasteners to play with, depending on how you want to mount it. Well, if you take a real close look in the picture up here, you're going to see on some of those, on the vertical brackets, you got clips. Those are for your wires, to go into. It helps hold them secure rather than using a whole bunch of zip ties. So, nice little addition, I thought, for what it is, and they do hold the cords fine. Okay, the next question's asking how many articulating arms. Well, there's 2. Most of them have 1. What's nice about this, it actually has 2 articulating arms. So to me, it's another plus for this bracket. And like I said, at the price, I don't think you can beat it. How far can I pull this out? How far can you extend it? 12 inches. Now, depending on how you're going to position this TV, it has a nut on there for locking it down in the tilt position. It isn't like something, you can put your hands on and tighten and open up. I had to use a small wrench, but once I got it the way that I wanted it, it's pretty much going to stay there. Period. So I know a lot of people feel that's a negative. I didn't feel it was that big of a negative because it's not that big of a deal. To loosen it up, position it, and tighten it. So somebody made the comment in here, which is a good idea, that the nylon lock nut on the mounting bracket is really hard to turn. So what they did is they just used some spray lubricant on it and it loosened it right up. That's a good idea. I probably would have fought my way through it, but you want to be careful, because if it's tight and you don't use a lubricant, you can end up snapping that stud or that shaft, and then you're kind of screwed. So use the lubricant. It's next to nothing, and it's a good idea. So what comes in the box? Okay, well, when we open it up, I made a quick little note. You get 1 assembled wall mount bracket, and you get all of the mounting hardware that they feel that you're going to need. You get 4 brackets, you get 1 mounting plate, and then it's up to you. If you think the screws are too long, too short, you might have to stop at your hardware store big box and go for a longer screw. They can't possibly know every TV out there and every surface. So it's like the bracket will fit most all TVs and surfaces, but depending on how that plastic is molded and the depth, you might have to get a little bit longer screw, or hopefully what comes in the kit is long enough. But a little bit of an annoyance. I mean, I get it, but like I said, they couldn't possibly foresee every TV that somebody would mount it to. A rough idea on how long it takes to install it. Well, some people will tell you 30 minutes. We just kind of did it slowly. I've mounted 2 of these so far. I don't know, an hour. If you know, as long as you have the tools there, which is minimal. I mean, you're going to need screwdrivers. You're going to need that torpedo level, maybe a little hammer to tap on the bracket to get everything, you know, super level before, you know, you really lag it into the wall. Very basic tools. It's very easy to install. Just take your time with it, and who cares if you take longer than 30 or 45 minutes, as long as you're happy with that end result. When you're done, this is nice because you can tilt it up and down, like I said, right and left, and it's great in a bedroom, or maybe you have a big family room or a den or something you want to put it in. Comment in here, some of the hardware seems, you know, cheap. Well, go buy better hardware. It doesn't cost much. They're just pennies a piece. I mean, really. Now, the other thing, somebody made a note that the mounting bolts are M8. There's 4 of them, and they're 1.5 inches. I didn't measure them. I'm just reading it right off of the description. So, you know, if it's important to you, I think that's fine. Now, on the one, we wanted a little bit longer mounting screw on that 65-inch TV. So we took the ones that were in there because we already knew that they fit and worked fine. We just took one down to the hardware store, matched it up, bought them just a little bit longer, you know, with some washers, and that was it. So that was our quick fix on that. Okay, kind of meant to be your quick tip of the week, you know, video here. I think the other thing, well, there's one other criticism before I wrap this up. Somebody said they cut themselves because it had some burring on the edge of the steel where it wasn't smoothed out enough before they painted it or whatever they did. Yeah, okay, look, I can live with that. Take a file to it, one of the Dollar Harbor Freight files, and, you know, file it down and touch it up with some black paint. Nobody's ever going to see it, but those things, I mean, I'm sorry that, you know, you got cut on it, and just be careful, I guess, but the 2 that I had, there weren't any burrs on it, and the edges seemed to be fine. So anyway, like I was trying to say, quick tip of the video, you know, here for you for the week. Good price. I mean, I'll throw that coupon back up here one more time. You can take a photograph of it or look for it in the flyer. But if this is something you were contemplating or thinking about doing someday, it may be the good time to do it, because at $35 is a good price. Like I said, lowest I've seen them is closer to $30. This is a good price. That's what I bought this second one at. So anyway, I'm the Home Handyman. I hope you click subscribe. I hope you keep following me. Drop a comment below if you know that there's a better deal out there somewhere. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next video. You folks have a great day. Bye-bye.